Hello, everyone. Hello, welcome back. We're here for another unpacking episode. We haven't seen you guys since before the holidays, not together anyway. So it's nice to see you all again.
That's the food dance. Happy food dance.
The happy food dance is more like this. This is the
It's
we're
just
here.
thanks.
Yeah,
Well, the segment dance.
yeah. I am excited. I'm on location at my cat sitting job. You're there looking like Jesus, and I think we're all we're all ready to go.
I don't think they had glasses back 2,000 years ago, but yeah.
Were you
Gee,
there?
true enough, I wasn't there.
Maybe they just had little like bits of what is it, sea glass, like on their
Yeah,
eyeballs, like monocles, and just looked through them. We don't
maybe.
know.
Yeah.
So, getting us on track, today we're talking about the episode that came out last week with our friend Corwyn Collier, who was named this year's Ultimate Men's Health Magazine Ultimate Guy.
Which is like extraordinary, which is an extraordinary accomplishment. It's very, very impressive.
Yeah, very, very exciting. And it was interesting listening to the episode. Because I mean, I listened to every episode at least 3 times just in part of the editing process. And it was interesting hearing about how he had such a kind of extraordinary life. But then after all this happened, it's like suddenly he's on what was he on? Like news
Today
the Today Show?
show
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
like
a few
suddenly
other ones. Yeah.
you're everywhere, right? It's pretty crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, I was at the grocery store the other day and I was like, "Hey, I know that guy." Like so
Yeah,
weird, right?
yeah, super crazy. And he said it was super crazy. Um, yeah, yeah, because I don't know, yeah, it was in the interview where he said, that he had he had submitted or was submitted like last year or the year before or a couple of years
Mm,
ago, right? So he was like, nah, what's gonna happen, right? Because he had already done it once, and then
right.
he was like, it got closer and closer and closer, and then he was on the Today Show. He's like, what the?
Well, yeah, wasn't he saying that it got closer and closer and closer, and then he was in top three, and he was like, "Oh, that's cool. Like I'm in top three. That's amazing." And then they called him out to speak at a school or something, and that's
No,
where.
they called him out to the
Oh,
Today
was it the
Show,
Today Show?
but he thought he was on the Today Show with the other top three guys,
Right.
and
Yeah,
he
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
"Oh, this is going to be amazing." And I actually watched that interview, and he just kind of like, you could tell he was shocked. He just started crying and stuff like that because he was
Hmm.
just shocked. Um, but he just thought he was just there with the other top three guys, and then they said, "Oh, he was the only one. You're the winner."
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
so cool.
what a way to hear it, on the Today Show, right?
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's such a nice, humble guy. I mean, obviously, to me, you are Men's Health Magazine's ultimate guy, but like Corwin's, like he's a fine runner-up, I guess.
Well, you know what I love so much about him is he balances it all. Like, I mean, he first and foremost, he's a husband and a father. That's his number one priority is his kids, right?
Mhm.
Well, his family. But he's a teacher, he's a track coach, he's a bodybuilder. I mean, yeah, it's just but he balances it all, but he keeps his priorities really good, So he as he said in his as he said when we spoke, everything for him is on a clock, right? So it's
Mm.
like, the kid's got to be here, the kid's got to be there. I mean, it's all got to be balanced because he's got so many things going on, but his kids are his family is number one, right?
Well, yeah, and that was part of what pulled him through the incident, which I'm not going to go too much into because if you're interested in it, he's had interviews and you should listen to the other episode as well. But that's one of the things that got him through like the hardest one of the hardest things of his life was knowing that he had to be there for his family and not like I'm obligated, but like no, my family is the most important thing to me and being there for them is non-negotiable, which is amazing
Absolutely.
conviction. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we should give people a spoiler. So he was in Iraq and he was in the Jeep and they went over a bomb and he ended up losing part of his hand, his leg, like he almost died. It was a major, major thing. So he definitely had some big struggles to deal with. But yeah, he said it was his family. He wanted to see us, he made a promise to God, just to get me through this. I just want, I just want to see my kids, my family, and my wife, and just super inspirational, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's one of those like triumph of the human will kind of stories, which, you know, they're always inspiring, but he's an I'm not going to say an everyday guy, like he's not amazing because he is, but he's also like a human guy. Like he's not unattainable, he's not infallible, he's not superhuman. He might be, but as far as we know, this is something that human beings can do. And I think one of the amazing things about these kinds of people and these kinds of stories is that he was living this life before Men's Health magazine recognized him for it. He was living this life before anyone, you know, without recognition, without being on the cover of a magazine. He was just living this life, and this is just who he is, right? That's pretty
Hmm.
stinking cool to me.
Yeah, I found it super cool, and as you know from listening to it, I was kind of a little bit like man crushy about it, like just the admiration I have for him for again balancing it all because he is also a professional physique competitor, bodybuilding physique competitor. So um, he's got to eat good, he's got to train, he's still got to do class lessons, he coaches track, he's got his kids. He's got a lot going on, but he balances it all, and it's just so inspiring to hear him how he does that. And but again, always keeping the priorities straight. Like for him, it's family first, right?
Did you have a favorite part of chatting with Corwyn?
Well, I like when we were chatting about the bodybuilding because I love
Mm.
bodybuilding, right? And we have that in common, obviously, right? So I love the chatting about that, and yeah, just hearing him talking about you know making a priority to make sure his food is prepared and doing what he has to do, and even if he has to train at 8 o'clock at night or whatever he has to do, he he's does it right because that's the goal. He said, and I liked how he was saying, everybody has goals, but you have to be able to execute, right? So, so things like that, I found really cool, really inspirational.
There's something I notice a lot in interviews that you do, and this is one of the reasons. I mean, you and I have talked about me being a part of the interviews and stuff, but I think um there's a very magical point in every interview that you do and that I've noticed you do. And I couldn't quite put my finger on where exactly it was with Corwin, but there's always a point where these people who have had a lot of interviews with a lot of people, or they've talked to a lot of people, or they've told their story over and over again, there's a kind of um like preparedness to it for the first little bit where it's like these are the things that I usually talk about, this is what you're going to want to know, da, 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 da. And then there comes a point where like your bendness starts to overflow and people get more comfortable and you guys are laughing and giggling and talking about whatever, right?
Yeah,
But there's that point always seems to happen where at first people are like, hello, my name is Steven Stevenson and
yeah,
I do, 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 do. And then it gets to the point where it's like, okay, now we can really get into the conversation because now we're comfortable. you
yeah.
can you can talk about the same things that you talked about on the Today Show or wherever, whatever. But let's dive a little deeper. And seeing people get comfortable and start to have those moments with you is probably my favorite part of any interview you do.
It's kind of funny you should say that because I always am looking for it. Like I expect it because I'm listening and I'm always kind of like wanting to ask the questions that I find interesting and but from my own Benism perspective. So I can always feel it too a little bit when it's like, okay, I'm not just with an interviewer, I'm just with a guy. I'm just with a guy, like a buddy basically talking, right? And I think when we were talking about the Lee Haney and the bodybuilding, once we started getting into that, it was like, okay, now we're just a couple guys like just talking, throwing things back and forth, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good moment.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a pretty fascinating guy and definitely, I mean, for those that don't know, my father Ben here was also part of the Men's Health magazine Ultimate Guy search, and came in around five, I think, top
That's
five.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And the top three are all, I mean, everybody who was part of it is amazing. If you look on their website at the announcement, all of the guys are fantastic. Um, but it's like I can't think of a better guy to have been number one, right? Like Corwyn's such an awesome dude. And that's not just because we've talked to him. He is just an
Yeah.
awesome guy, right?
Well, that was what kind of struck me too was having talked to him a couple times and saw some interviews and stuff like that. It's hard for me to imagine anybody else that comes to mind that would be the number one guy. Like serving for his country, getting blown up in a bomb, coming back, teaching, getting a certificate, teaching kids for 10 years, coaching track, raising his kids, being a family man, being dedicated to his family. I mean, come on now.
Well, and I think one of the things that's really interesting about all of that is that, like, every person that we've talked to for the most part, and I think this includes you to an extent, they have a niche of relatability. So yours is fitness and at-risk youth, and that's kind of your niche of people who are seeking out guidance in those areas. You're the person to talk to or to listen to. People going through whatever. People have these little pockets, these little niches. What's interesting about Corwyn is that he's an ultimate guy in terms of being a family man, like you said, serving his country. He's a man of faith, so very spiritual, very religious. He's a teacher. He's a all of this stuff. He's an everyday guy. He's a fitness person. He's a this. He's a this. Like there's a little nugget of relatability for almost everyone I can imagine in this guy. So when you're talking ultimate guy, like not to be like, no, ultimate guy, but when you are talking ultimate guy and like mental health too,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of relatability in his story, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, he's a very, very inspiring, but also very relatable guy for sure. And he's a humble guy. I mean, um, yeah, it's just he's again, if you're talking about the ultimate guy for this time that we're in history right now, he's hard to beat, really. Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very cool. Very, very cool. And he uh he was rooting for, even though he's Ohio, um, he was rooting for the Seahawks for us.
Ah, yes, I remember you
Yes.
talking about that.
Seahawks were going against 49ers, and he was like, yep, I'm there with you for the Seahawks for this one.
How did that game already happen?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think here. Oh yeah, no, we lost. That was when we got knocked out.
Okay, maybe he's
Yeah.
not that ultimate. Gee.
I know.
Oh,
But I mean, me looking like Jesus and everything right now, I should have taken more responsibility for that.
yeah, related to our conversation for Bell Let's Talk Day, what I really wish that I would have seen is this. Okay, are you ready?
Oh man.
Hello, my children. Welcome to another episode of Love and Goliath.
Wait. I thought that was you waking up as a vampire.
Yeah, but I've altered it to be Ben
Oh,
rising
okay.
as Jesus. With
You know that we've lost all of our listeners just with, oh, he thinks he's Jesus, does he? Oh, okay, well, I'm out of here. This
this is
guy. Now there's gonna be this big social media thing about like, don't ever talk to this guy, don't ever reach out to this guy. He thinks he's Jesus. It's just gonna
is
be
this what we're gonna
massive.
get canceled for?
Oh, for
Is
sure. And
your shirt looking slightly Jesus-like, and me saying, "Oh, I wish you had risen up from off screen." Seriously, as part of this podcast, I wish you had risen from after three
Oh
days of
man.
recording, you rose to finish it. Yeah.
Oh man, wouldn't that be awesome if somebody heard this and just took a little bit of the like little clippets of it, and just totally thrashed us like millions of viewers, like how dare they?
You know what
He
they
thinks
say,
he's
all press is
Jesus.
good press.
I don't know if I agree with that, but how many times does that happen to people though? Like one little things get taken way out of context though. So
if
here's cross
if
fingers crossed.
if anything from this episode is going to get us canceled, it'll be me saying, "Oh well, the Seattle Seahawks probably don't think Corwyn's the ultimate guy." That's probably what's going to do it for us.
uh,
But I think we've said much more dodgy, potentially dodgy, and implicating things in past episodes. So I think we'll be okay.
okay.
But we'll see. Only one way to
Well,
find out.
yeah, absolutely. Well, to wrap it up, I think that Corwyn Collier is the ultimate guy for 2023, and I just believe that he totally is a amazing representative of that honor.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that completely. And I'm so excited to welcome you as the Men's Health Ultimate Guy of 2024. So working on that this year.
I know. Well, like you said, he had entered before, right? So here we go.
You
We'll
never
just have to
know.
we'll have to do a little what was the skater, the skater who broke the other skater's leg, Nancy
Oh,
Kerrigan or whatever. We'll start
Tanya
have to
Harding?
yeah.
Are you gonna Tanya Harding Corwyn Collier?
Well, I'm not gonna, but I'm gonna get my significant other to. So
Oh,
Charlene's just gonna say, okay, who's in the top, who's in the running? Boom.
that's what's gonna get us canceled.
That's
Just
what's
so you
gonna
know,
get.
that's what's
That's
gonna
what's
do it.
gonna get it. 100%. As it was coming out of my mouth, I was like, "Oh yes, this is what's gonna get us
You could hear
canceled."
the sound bite. My significant other is gonna Tanya Harding whoever's in the first place. Take him out.
100%. That's what's getting us canceled.
That's yeah, I think that's accessory to some kind of crime, but I'm your daughter, I support you. So
This is also 100%, not 100%, but it probably goes a long way towards why I am not and should not, under any circumstances, be 2023's ultimate guy.
yeah, I sense that Corwyn did not Tanya Harding anybody to be where he's at.
Or threaten Tony
or
Harding,
or threaten or
or
in any way, shape, or
or
form,
try to implement his daughter in that task,
or in any way dress in a Jesus like fashion.
and then refer to himself as Jesus.
Implied Jesus.
Implied,
We need to
implied,
okay,
yeah,
PR Willow coming in, implying Jesus like qualities. How's that?
exactly.
I'm
Oh
not saying
man,
the water turned into wine. It's just a little red. That's all.
uh, we've gone way off the rails here.
We have. But I do think that we got it all. We could probably gush about Corwyn Collier forever, but we
We
won't
could,
do that. And
no.
instead, we'll just say thank you so much for joining us. As always, stay tuned on our socials for different things that are going on. We just had our Bell Let's Talk Day talk, which was very exciting and fun. And there's more coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned. Thank you guys, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all so much for joining us, as always. We love hearing from you, so if you have comments, questions about the episode, topics you want us to cover, or anything else, you can find us on Instagram as Loving Goliath, on Facebook as The Goliath Foundation. You can email us at lovinggoliath@gmail.com, or you can find out more information about the Goliath Foundation at thegoliathfoundation.com. Hey, did you know that 36% of our listeners tune in through Apple Podcasts? If that's you and you liked what you heard today, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you again, and we'll catch you next time. Bye!